Alright, welcome to Reason Workshop. This is class 13 on the matrix. We'll start out exploring the matrix pattern sequencer features. Then we'll go into edit mode, then octaves, velocity, and ties. Then into steps, resolution, and shuffle. Then we'll go through the matrix curve window, the matrix outputs, then finally a test. The way you start up a matrix is different from other instruments. It doesn't have its own sound bank within it. It is actually just a sequencer, so it latches onto another instrument to control it. So, for instance, here we're going to create a subtractor, and then after that, create a matrix pattern sequencer. And automatically, it is going to connect. So, by default, it's controlling the subtractor by plugging in the gate CV in and the note CV in. There's also an additional CV output, which is called the curve CV. So let's go over all the basic features of the matrix. So within the sequencer, you have 64 different patterns, very similar to a redrum, that you have 8 patterns per bank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for A, and then another 8 for B, and another 8 for C, and then another 8 for D. There's also resolution, which selects 16th notes or 8th notes or whatever your resolution is going to be. And if you hit run, just like in redrum, it starts playing. Now you can draw in different notes. So these play specific notes. As you can see, the pattern rolls through 16 steps and then starts over again. Okay, so those are notes, and you can also affect the octave of that. So you can select an octave down or several octaves up. So if you're programming melodies and notes into the matrix, you have a 5-octave range. Now let's go through the gate. So down here is the velocity. And that actually relates to the gate output too. Now you can tie the notes together. If you turn this button on, then any of the gates will now have a longer value. And then again, there's resolution over here, so you can select it to be 8th notes instead of 16th notes. Now shuffle's down here. You can turn shuffle on. And that works right in with the regroove mixer. That applies to the regroove mixer knob right here. So you can change it to shuffle it less or more. So if I turn it all the way up, all the even 16th notes are moved over. If I want it to be a longer phrase, I can move it up to 32 steps. And also keep in mind that you can automate between the patterns on the internal sequencer of the matrix. So I could have a very long phrase by going through pattern 1, and then automating it to move to pattern 2, and automating that to move to pattern 3, etc. want to show you the curve output. So with the curve output plugged into something, you can affect that parameter, plug it into the filter. So now with that toggle selected on curve, I can draw in how I want that filter to open and close. Now with that, I can actually put on bipolar as well. So on the back, you can select bipolar. You can affect things both negatively and positively. So that works really well if you were to put that to another parameter such as pitch. Or how about FM amount? Just like a reed drum, if you like your pattern, you can just copy that pattern to track, and then I could get rid of the matrix altogether and just move the clip up to the subtractor sequencer lane. Possibilities of CV are endless. There's so much you can do with it. One thing I'm going to show you now is how to just use the gate output of the matrix into the amp envelope of the subtractor, and then on the sequencer playing the subtractor. In this way, you can create a rhythm with all kinds of gates and interesting grooves. And now I can hold down several notes, as you can see here. So every time that I play on the subtractor, the gates trigger that same groove. If I take my fingers off, then it's silent. So the only times that that rhythm occurs is when my fingers are pressed down. So let's just use the CV gate to control a reed drum, for instance. So if I plug the gate output into reed drum channel 1, you're going to hear the rhythm that's programmed into the matrix. And now let's affect the pitch by plugging the output of the curve CV into the pitch input of the reed drum channel 1. Now I want to show you guys another device called the Spider CV merger and splitter. And this allows you to take one of those CV outputs within the matrix and split it off into 4 different outputs now, and have that control several different drums. So for instance, I'm just going to take that curve output and split it off 4 directions. So now that one cable is now 4 cables, and that goes to the reed drum pitch of the first 4 modules. Okay, now the last CV output on that Spider is inverted. So you'll hear, now if I program something on that reed drum module, you can hear the pitch is kind of moving. And for drum module 4, it's moving exactly the opposite as the rest of them.